What's up, y'all? It's Brian with the Trial and Error podcast. Um, I'm jumping on live. I'm probably going to do kind of an abridged version of this today. I got a ton going on, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking about. So let me go ahead and get Instagram up and running here. All right, so Instagram's on. So on today's episode, it's gonna be more of a personal update. This is gonna be more of an abridged one. Like I said, I'm unshaven. I've had a lot going on, and so hopefully Fearless can jump on, pop on right quick, because I was kind of back and forth even doing this episode today because there's so much going on. But consistency is key, and so yeah, so that's what we have on today's episode. I'm gonna go ahead and roll the intro, and we'll get this thing started. So, on today's episode, this is more of a personal update than anything else. The last, well, let me do the introduction. My name is Brian. Um, Welcome to the Trial and Error podcast. On today, we talk, on this podcast, we really talk about, utilizing life experience to learn the lesson. Our goal is to you get out there, you try it. You may be unsuccessful, but in the error, you learn the message and then you come back and try to get better. Because really, that's the only way, that's really the only way that we grow is by leaning into our mistakes and learning how to grow from them. I run a marketing agency called I Sell Words. I'm kind of rebranding. It's a DIY marketing agency, which means that I provide the tools for you to do your own marketing. And then I can actually sit down and provide you guidance and stuff. And so as we speak, I'm uploading content packs and stuff like that so that you can get a handle on your own marketing. And I'm going to be having like office hours or whatnot to teach people some of the basics of copywriting, some of the basics of marketing their own business or marketing their own idea or own personal brand. And so that's what that is. Okay. Like I said, today I was going to I was thinking about not doing it. Just because the struggle is, I've had so much going on this past 2 weeks, that it's hard for me to focus. I do have ADHD and it's been absolutely chaotic, over the last couple of weeks. And so that's why I'm doing this because I have to introduce some consistency into my life after having everything flipped upside down the last couple of weeks. Um, so I'm talking to Fearless now. Straight to the point. So what I've been dealing with the last couple of weeks is, and I'm still not really ready to go into the details of it, but I did lose somebody close to me. And so we've been dealing with a lot of funeral stuff and family in town and things along those lines. And so that's really kind of flipped me upside down. And then we had to make some adjustments with one of my businesses. And today, we're actually moving out of our location, and trying something different. Um, and so I'm actually going over to finalize that today. That's been a challenge, because for me it's really hard with change, when things, I really move off of routines. Like that's how I build my whole day, is around routines. And so I'm actually losing something that was part of my weekly routine. I would go into my office and have my office hours, a couple of days a week, and I'm not going to have my own private office. I'm back to basically working out of my house, until we can sort out some details. The reality is we did the trial and error with having our own facility with this business, and we had really had a status quo. We didn't really have a facility. We would, use local facilities, and it was really cost effective for us. It also kind of was a self marketing kind of thing because people would see us out doing it. For those that don't know, it's a basketball training business, so people would see us out and about in the community, and we would get a lot of traffic that way. And so we figured, hey, why don't we go ahead and get this building? We can rent it out, and make some extra income for other basketball teams and whatnot. And that did not pan out. And the building quickly turned into a liability, really quickly, just because there's a couple of structural things. There are some logistical issues, and we could not monetize that thing the way we wanted to. And I know it's trial and error, but I beat the hell out of myself for sometimes when things don't go right, for not knowing better or not being able to predict the outcomes and stuff. And so that's what happened. And so I'm kind of grieving that as well. The fact that this thing didn't pan out. Like, this was a goal that I had. I met the goal, but then once I reached the goal, we weren't able to, there's a lot of things that we were not able to execute on. And so I understand that that's just how things run, but it doesn't make it any easier. But I also needed the experience. So it's a blessing and a curse, right? That's just how it goes. So hold on one second. So anyway, that's what happened. So I've had a lot of different things churning in my interpersonal life. And so I just kind of wanted to walk you through a little bit of this. And there is going to be some trial and error. So I think what I'll do first is break down what went wrong. Not specifically, not doing the full autopsy of what went wrong with the building and stuff like that, but the lessons I'm taking from attempting to have a kind of our own location, and what I need to know for next time. Okay. So, and then I'm gonna just talk about how I'm trying to balance personal chaos and business chaos when they intersect, and how I'm trying to navigate this thing through. So that's what it is. All right. So first things first, we are in the process of moving out of our building. My business partner and I had the talk, and we like, the building is costing us more than it's bringing in. We were unable to lease it out or sublease it out the way that we wanted to, and let other teams utilize the space. Just because we have very, very limited parking, and that's been a super contentious issue with our neighbors, and it just has not worked out. It's led to some confrontations, and we don't want to be like that. And that's not how we want to operate. And so what we did not want to do is lease out the spot. What's up, Fearless? What we did not want to do is lease out the spot, and then they're having to deal with, one of our neighbors coming in irate, because it's actually happened. Coming in irate, and we didn't really want to have to deal with that. And so, that idea of, okay, we're going to let some other coaches or other teams utilize the space and rent it out, that didn't work out, just because there were too many elements outside of our control, and we didn't want to take somebody's money and then have them deal with the contentious nature of the parking situation. And that was one of the profit centers that went away almost immediately. Like, we lost that. We had to let go of that within a couple of months, and so we had to pivot off of that real quick. And that was a big.
Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, sorry,
Oh, nothing much.
I left my phone at home or
Okay.
whatever. I didn't even realize it until I was already out and about, and I'm like, as soon as I got home, I'm hearing my phone dinging and beeping and farting and burping, and
Yeah.
I hop on and I'm like, I got a bunch of messages from you, like, hey, I don't think we're gonna be able to do it, and then like, nope, we're gonna keep going. Like, I'm gonna just hop on and see what's going on. So,
Okay. So
I hear you in the story. What's going on? Talk to me.
So basically, what I'm talking about is basically just kind of a personal update, all the stuff that's been kind of going on, and trying to take the lesson out of all of this stuff, and just adjusting, dealing with the funeral and all the other stuff. and then also we're transitioning out from the building today, and
Oh,
so
okay.
we're moving stuff out. And I'm kind of talking, giving, I guess I am kind of giving an autopsy of what happened with
Ooh, I
why,
like that word.
with
Okay.
why we're moving out of the building and the lesson that we're taking from it. And so,
Oh, may I ask you, is this the same building you were at before?
yeah, so this is the basketball training thing.
The
Um,
one the one that I went to?
yep,
Oh wow, you guys are still there?
yep.
Oh
So
wow.
And so, it's been one of those things where we had to learn. Like initially, when we got it, we were planning on, okay, we're going to utilize this. We're going to rent this out to other teams or whatnot that need a practice space. Almost immediately, that plan got scuttled because we got limited parking. It's super contentious in terms of dealing with stuff with neighbors and things like that. And we did not want to have to deal with we did not want another coach to have to deal with what we had to go through with our neighbors because the parents parked in the wrong place. And so immediately we're like, yeah, we can't do that. And so immediately the thing that we had planned to offset the cost of the building went out the window. And so we had to end up scrambling to figure out how we're going to operate at half capacity because we can't fill our parking lot because and so that's really what's happening. And so we sat down and had the conversation. It's like, hey man, we were making more money when we were just renting out facilities.
Hmm.
And it was also kind of a self-marketing thing because people would see us out in the community and we would get a lot of clients that way because we were out and about and people would come over and see what we were doing. And so that was the hard decision. But one of the things is with my ADHD, I am used to ritualizing everything. Everything has to be a ritual in order for me to get it done. And so I had an entire ritual about my office hours and how I did things. And now I'm removing a huge chunk out of something that I had been doing for a year and a half,
Hmm.
where I'm out and about. I have meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I hit the building up and I knock out office stuff and things like that. And I cannot do that. And so there's a part of me that's feeling like I'm adrift in chaos. But then the other part is this is going to be the thing that's going to make you profitable and help stabilize some stuff. So that's the balance I'm at right now, in addition to all the grief stuff that I'm going through in my personal life. So I think I kind of brought you up to where we are in the conversation.
All right, no, that's okay. So so then what's the drawback? Like what are you guys doing then?
Well, we're going to be like, we already have facilities booked out, and we've actually had people reach out and say, hey, I got a space. We got some stuff that, that may be a little bit more cost effective for you, or
Mhm.
we're not going to charge you, we're not going to charge you as much. And so we've been, booking out all the other, all of our other alternative, basically booking out our community based alternatives this week. But then also physically moving stuff out of that building. Um, I went and cleaned out my office, so I have in the back. You can't see, but I have a ton of lights and camera equipment and just audio equipment and stuff that I have at the house again until I find another place for it.
Right.
And so that's kind of where we're at. But from the trial and error part, the thing that ties it to the trial and error is I'm trying to take the lesson out of this.
Mhm.
Um, and from the business side of things, sometimes when you try something and it doesn't work, instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, you just need to reiterate. And so letting go of the building, reiterating our business model.
Correct.
And really focusing on the number side of it, because a lot of it was focusing on the aesthetic side of, oh, we got our own facility, and you've been in it, man. It's laid out, but we were like, I had to let go of the aesthetics, like, yeah, I have my own facility, and focus on, yeah, but what are the numbers looking like? Because at the end
Mhm.
of the day, when you're running a business, and I actually had a long conversation with one of my uncles who was in town. He's really successful, retired businessman, and the thing we talked about is like you got to put a number on everything.
What do you mean?
So when you're doing business, because his thing was he owned a whole chain of funeral homes, right? And so he said I had to have for each location each location had to have a specific number that they needed to hit so I could determine whether they were successful in what we had them doing for that month. And so I was too caught up in the we have our own facility stuff, and I took my eye off the ball in terms of, yeah, but what are the numbers saying about it? Has this
Mm,
increased? Is this increasing, your revenue month over month, or is it negatively impacting it? And it was
mm,
negatively impacting our month over month.
okay.
So
Yeah,
that's the
and
lesson.
that's and I like that idea of that because it puts things back into perspective very quickly.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It takes you from this from that armchair theorist to what's actually factual
Right.
and something, and that does make a lot of sense, whatever. Because again, we're paying however much money for an empty building. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to saying, okay, well, what does this need to be bringing in? What do we need to be doing in order for this to be bringing certain things in? I met a podcaster recently who makes a lot of money podcasting and stuff. And one of the things that she told me was, she said, I could tell you how much money I'm going to make just by based on how many videos I put out.
Hmm.
She said, this is like a job. She said, the more videos you put out, I can almost tell you how much money I'm going to get back.
Yep.
And she said, every single month, damn near like clockwork. So she was telling me that, and I was like, man. She said, I'm like, you have it down to a science. She said, yes. She said, once you've been doing this long enough, she said, well, that's the reason why we can come in and help anybody, like get this stuff situated, get this stuff set up, because it's so simple. She said, one of the things that we do is we complicate everything. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
She said, she's like, dude, going viral is not complicated. Just put out some videos. And and she was coaching me on those 100 videos that I did. She said, listen, she said, dude, if you would have put that same energy that you put into that 100 days of coaching, Q&A, training onto like TikTok or onto like Instagram, just doing like shorts, she said you would have already been making a crap ton of money right now. Right now.
Hmm.
She said if you would have taken that same exact approach and put it somewhere else. She said basically, dude, you did the right stuff just on the wrong platform. She said, and another thing, she said, stop going live. She said, let's build you out something and then do your lives. But for right now, she's like, no, 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 no. Don't do that. So again, it's a lot of it. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Playing some, you don't know what you don't know. But at the same time, like I loved every bit of doing the Ags Fearless stuff. I love that shit. What?
Yeah.
What? Come on, dude. What? I love it. I love it, and I still do. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, yeah, I did what I wanted to do because I got over that whole fear of going live type stuff or whatever. And now it's just more or less like, all right, cool. Well, we'll kind of do the same thing, just a little opposite, go a different direction. And not
Right.
only that though, but now I have a different objective in general. Dude, kind of like a little quick side segue. You know how many books I've finished
How many?
since I've stopped doing my 100 days? Dude, I have read. Okay, I'm reading one now. I'm reading part two of this one here, called "The Parable of Talents" by Octavia Butler.
Hmm.
I have read one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. I've read 8 books complete in the last like 10 days. Now,
Wow.
actually, about 11. 11 days. I've read 8 books, like full, cover to cover. just sitting there knocking them out. I mean, and again, like I said, man, I don't think that you get what you want. I think you get exactly who and what you are.
Yeah.
And if you guys' thing is kind of like you said before, the better the you guys got the people when you were doing something that was organic.
Hmm.
As soon as you guys went in, then you guys kind of ended up like everybody else. So I mean, what works for you may not work for everybody else, and vice versa.
Well, and the idea of, it does go back to taking our eye off the ball a bit, and
Mhm.
getting caught up in the allure of, oh, we got this, we have this amazing facility and stuff like that. But the facility in and of itself, initially we went in with the plan that this is going to be something that generates money just in and of itself. And then we realized, oh man, we got to pivot off of that. Now we got to learn how to fill this thing up with a bunch of services. And we weren't necessarily equipped to do it that way, because our entire plan was built around, we're going to monetize owning this and leasing it out. And it didn't work out like that. Like I said, in order to be able to execute on something like that, you have to have ample parking. You have to have, people have to be able to access it pretty easily. And otherwise it's not going to work,
Okay.
because we were planning on running leagues out of there and stuff like that. But the single bottleneck is you don't have enough parking. And it's not you don't have enough, but it turns ugly when one of your clients accidentally parks in front of somebody else's bay.
Okay.
And so we were like, man, we can't have bro coming and blowing up the spot on a client, and we're not even in the build.
Right. Yeah.
We're not even
Is
here.
that what they were doing?
Yeah, like blowing up the spot. And so, and it was a specific neighbor, but it turned bad a couple of times, and had to be de-escalated. And it's like, man, yeah, we can't expose any clients to this stuff, man. You know, we're dealing with it, but we can't, we're used to it, but we can't take somebody's money. And then they're like, hey man, bro came in and was fuming, man. He's trying to square off with people, man. We can't do that to clients. And so we were like, yeah, that's out,
Yeah, sure.
and so that's kind of where we're like, yeah, okay. So now we have to pivot off of that. And there was no other way, because that was the easiest and most straight line path to monetizing that. And that got removed. And so now it's like, okay, so now what are we going to do? Well, nothing. So, like I said, and we're looking at a cost in terms of overhead. We went from and I'm going in a little bit of numbers, but we're looking at, $3,600 a month off the top that's coming out for that every month, right? Like clockwork. And versus when we were just renting out spaces, we're looking at our overhead being like $800 a month at the max for facility usage. And so when you balance those two things out, like, you're spending so much more on something that's not returning versus we put money in here and we can grow this pretty consistently. So
Right.
that's the arbitrage we were looking at. And so, and that's the lesson we learned, man. So it was necessary, hindsight being 2020, like, yeah, I wish I would have never done it, but then it was a necessary step. We had to go through that because it was such a hard line goal for us to get a facility that we needed reality to kick us in the rear and say, yeah, you need to change your focus. You're focusing on the wrong thing. We couldn't be talked out of it before. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, we could not be talked out of it before. But then there were other factors that happened that screwed up the money and stuff, that lessons that we learned over this year. I've told people straight up, like, this has been one of the most challenging years that we've had as a business. And I'm talking about even including all the stuff with COVID, and having scrambled with that. And so there are other factors and other lessons that were taken in, but the culmination of everything, all these things were things that we couldn't be talked out of until we experienced it. And now that we experienced it, we're like, okay. So now we know.
You know the thing that I love about what you guys are going through And I mean, even with the negativity, and which is really not negative. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just that ebb and flow, is that trial and error. But the thing that I like about you and your partner, that I don't even know if it even into your peripheral to think about this, but you guys, it's all business.
Hmm.
Nothing's personal. You guys are going through this thing together, heads up, feet down, locked and locked. Like, man, no matter what happens, bro, we gonna ride this out together. And that's the thing, honestly, bro, that inspires me when I listen to this story. It's not what you guys are going through; it's that you guys are going through it together. That that on both sides of things, neither one of you are blaming each other. There's constant communication with both of you. There's there's not no nobody's being silly and acting this particular way or that particular way. The way that you guys are handling it is like, dude, man, our friendship first, business second, right? Like we came into this, we were friends first, and then we started this.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, so you guys still have that 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 common denominator of friendship first, then everything else came afterwards. And it wasn't fake. It wasn't facetious. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't one person trying getting to know the other person, but never really understanding who that other person was type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the thing I love about what's going on. And again, like I said, there ain't no pillow talking, there ain't no BS going on behind closed doors. You anytime you talk about Mo, it's always in a positive. Anytime. Y'all could be going through all kinds of stuff. But anytime you talk about that, man, it's always in a positive.
Yeah.
Constantly. You know what I'm saying? Like seriously. So that is very inspiring to me.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I wanted to say, I appreciate that. Not just the fact that you're struggling, because that's good too. Because I mean, it's you
It's
guys don't
necessary.
it's necessary. It's a necessary evil. But the fact of the matter is that you guys kept that friendship first, and you can see that going watching you guys go through what you're going through together. And like I said, man, that's to me that's a beautiful thing, dude. Because I've witnessed myself, I've experienced, and
Hmm.
I've been exposed to things not going that way.
Oh yeah. And yeah, and Fearless and I talked about that, and it is one of those things where even when we disagree, it's like, hey, we got this issue, we're not on the same page. Give me a call, let's sort out so we can figure out where we move on from here. Because that's been the communication piece, and it takes time, and it does take work
Yeah,
sometimes.
and that's fine, right? But I mean, but at the same time, but to undercut your man, to to be talking to your wife about how horrible this dude is, and how I mean, just saying nothing but negative shit constantly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And again, like, all I'm saying is that if you've had a problem with this man, you could talk to him. Like, hey man, pull up, man. We gotta talk, my guy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of different stuff. With me personally, when I'm
Mhm.
dealing with other people and we may not necessarily see eye to eye with certain stuff, like I'll hit you up like, hey, what's going on with this? Or what's going on with that? Or hey, pull up. Like we should probably talk about this type of
Mhm.
stuff. You know what I'm saying? Again, depending on who you are, type of stuff. Or there was this individual, like I seen his wife in the store one day, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Just like nothing. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that's where we were.
Oh
You know what
wow.
I'm saying? So I hit her husband up like, hey, I ain't never said or done nothing to neither one of y'all. Like what the fuck? It's still nothing, crickets. So it's like, oh, okay. So you know what I'm saying? So like again, if I have an issue, I'll say something. If there's no issue, then then it is what it is, and I'll back off. Now, I put my stuff out there. You know what I'm saying? But again, because it's not like I was friends with these people, really.
Right.
I mean, we were more or less co-workers, but I at least still had some type of respect for them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now, other people, I, it's crazy because of my personality, I have a very fine wine type of personality. Like,
Mhm.
you're either gonna function with me or you not. Like, but again, unfortunately, I do grow on people. Right? Once you get past all the other shit that comes out of my mouth and the other erratic behavior, like we cool. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Because you'll know for the most part, that I'm at least for real with you. I mean, like I may not be like everybody else, but if I'm on some shit, you on some shit. Like I believe in total transparency.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let me know before somebody else tell me type shit. You know what I'm saying? But again, though, that's just me personally, right? And the thing that I see that you and Homeboy do is some stuff that I wish that could have happened between myself and partners that I've had in the past. And again, maybe I'm the common denominator in that. You know what I mean? Maybe I am. And Lord knows I'm trying to check myself in that too. You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard to blame somebody else without you looking at yourself first. At
Right.
least that's how I train myself. I can't look at you and not look at me first because the common denominator is still going to be me.
Right. And I think there's a balance too, because yeah, there's the accountability piece is important, but then there's also sometimes you can be over accountable where you're like you're taking accountability for things that are really the accountability of the other person. And so it's
Yeah,
important, for us, we had to draw the line and say, okay, this is what you do, this is what I do, and these are the things you're accountable for, this is what I'm accountable for, and that's what it runs with. Because even you've dealt with the imposter syndrome I had, that's one of the things
yeah,
that
for
with
sure. Yes.
with that inner critic. Oh, and I heard something that I'm gonna share with you in a second, but with the inner
Okay.
critic, it's really super easy to hold yourself accountable for things that aren't your accountability. Um,
For things that you're not responsible for.
yeah, for things that aren't you're not
Like,
responsible for, it's really easy
yeah,
to hold yourself accountable for things you're not responsible for. Um,
correct. Yeah.
and there's this thing I'm actually trying out. I heard this. I was on some YouTube channel where it's talking about all the different, it talks about different cognitive things that you can do, and it's basically 3 hours of cognitive tricks that you're supposed to listen to while you sleep. And so and they have a lot of those while you sleep channels, history while you sleep, um, philosophy while you sleep. So I listen to all of them, right? And this one was really interesting because it was the first one, so I was wide awake when I heard it. But they say if you do struggle with a negative inner voice, um, negative critic, they say give that negative inner critic a name, a silly name, or something along those lines.
Mm.
And they said by giving that inner critic a name, you can almost disassociate yourself from that person, so it doesn't sound like you saying the negative things. It feels like it's
Mm.
a third party saying the negative things. And that could set you up a little bit better to condition yourself, because it's going to take time, but you can almost condition yourself to ignore them because you're like, that person always has something negative to say. I'm not going to put any
Mm.
stock in what they're saying. Um, and I've tried it a couple of times since I've heard it, and it's actually pretty effective because I can almost externalize that negative inner voice and make it
Okay,
somebody
so
else.
is it the voice or the thing that keeps coming back? Because like an if event happens and it just keeps circling, keeps circling, because it can't flush out of your system yet.
Mhm.
Is it the event that you name, or is it the because again we all not all of us has that chitter chatter
Yeah.
going on in our heads. So what part of it are we naming? Are we naming the part that's talking about it? Are we naming the event itself?
Okay, so there's another one that I can share with that one, but the talking for
Okay.
me because it's an inner voice. It's a negative inner voice for me. I know not everybody hears it. Not everybody has an internal monologue. But for me, it's a negative inner voice. And by giving a name to that negative inner voice, Mr. Negative, I can say Mr. Negative always has something negative to say. Just like when you interact with people, like somebody, man, such and such always got some sideways shit to say. That's why I don't pay any attention to them. And so that's what I've been doing the last couple of days. Now, from the emotions and feelings that came along with it, there was one that followed right after that where they're saying basically, physiologically, when you experience a super negative emotion, more times than not, the duration of that is about 90 seconds. After that, it turns into ruminating and kind of feeding the emotion and leaning into the emotion. And so at some point, and basically it's a kind of a small little meditation or whatnot, but they said, and I used to tell my staff this, which is amazing because I didn't even hear this before, but I used to tell my staff, there's a difference between feeling a thing and reacting to a thing, and cultivate that pause between the event happening, you experiencing that negative thing, and then you creating an opinion about that negative thing. Like there's a multiple step thing, and I used to have to tell my workers out in the field, like when they saw something horrific or terrifying or sad, I said it's very easy for your emotions to feed into it and end up making the situation worse. And as an outside person, that's the last thing you want to do. And so basically what they said is you experience that negative thing, the anger, that sadness, that, whatever, that really intense emotion, that goes for about 90 seconds. And then the rest of the duration is ruminating on it and living in that spot, as opposed to giving yourself the ability to feel all the emotions that come with that for 90 seconds and just kind of leaning into it, and then start saying, okay, so what's next? What do I do now? You know what I'm saying? It's a different kind of way of thinking about it, and it's a little bit hard, but I've actually done it before. Because I used to go out, I did case management, man. I used to go out to see horror shows, like human horror, like, awful stuff. And it was really easy for that to infect you, and it could ruin your entire day. And I had to learn how to, okay, this is really, really depressing and sad. This is heartbreaking. I need to experience this heartbreak, but I cannot let it dictate and be my entire experience with this or my entire day, because at the end of the day, this family still needs my help.
Gotcha.
And I got to lock in. And so it's one of those things, and it's not saying that you ignore your emotions or not have any emotions, but it's also being able to experience those emotions without feeding those emotions afterwards, after you experience them and ruminating on them. I'll send the thing over to you so you can check it out, man. But it had a lot of different little mind hacks that you can do, and some of them I've actually done without even seeing that video before. So I know that there's some efficacy, but your mileage is going to vary depending on who's doing it.
Okay, I got you.
So, all right. So back kind of where we're at. So, I was dealing with all this stuff at the building. I lost my aunt who, that one's, I'm not necessarily 100% ready to go into the whole relationship thing. I don't know if I'll do that online. I don't think that's beneficial for me. But I will say a lot of the emotions that have been turning the last couple of days, it's hard to not allow those to hijack everything else that I got going on. And I actually had to sit down and give myself time. And this is the crazy part. So I had to give myself time to process. But then also I had to deal with the feelings of guilt of the things that I wasn't doing for my business. You know what I'm saying? And for those that don't know, if you watch it out there, that is a business owner thing. But also it's a high achiever thing where you have a lot going on and you really pride yourself on the work you're doing. A lot of times, I found that I beat myself up when my personal stuff gets in the way of the stuff I want to accomplish.
Mm.
And so I don't have any solution for that. I'm still dealing with that right now. I'm dealing with the residual guilt of essentially being off for a week and a half. And trying to see family and process my own emotional stuff with the funeral and stuff. And yeah, I'm still in the midst of that.
Hmm.
I'm still living it and breathing it. And so I don't have any solutions for it. And I don't think there are solutions for it. I just think it's something you have to learn how to deal with and realize, like, for me, I'm like, talking to my wife, she's like, hey, you can't beat yourself up for the things that you're not able to do because you're not in the right headspace to do it. I tried to, I'll be honest with you. I went out the day after. I took a meeting the day after her passing, and I should not have been out on the road. I shouldn't have been out on the road.
Hmm.
Had a little bit of ended up with a little bit of a fender bender because I should not have been out on the road.
Oh, dude, you
Yeah,
hit somebody?
it was basically it's coming out and hit the brakes and slid into them because I was coming out of a blind corner. And so I looked, nobody was coming. I looked the other way, nobody was coming. Looked another time, nobody was coming. Then I start pulling out, and boom, they're right there. And there was a lot going on in my head that put me at that blind corner where I probably shouldn't, where I normally would have never been there in the first place. Like not paying attention to where I was in terms of parking and all kinds of other stuff. I had a cocktail of things going on in my brain, and all of it says you should not be out and about doing anything right now. And so after I took my meeting, I came home and shut it down.
Hmm. I mean, like I hear what you're saying there, but it almost sounds like, I mean, dude, that car would have been there whether she passed or not.
But where I was, I wouldn't have been there because I was zoned out. I drove right past the place I was supposed to go, and I had been there 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was making my turn, if I had been paying attention, if I had not been kind of in my own head, I wouldn't even been where that blind corner was. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, if I'm missing gaps, and a lot of times when you're driving anyway, it's kind of a normal thing where you get so like you get in your car and you're not even really aware of the drive because you've made the drive so much.
Yeah, sure.
And I understand there's that, but where I ended up, where this thing ended up happening, the only reason I was at that corner was the fact that I had completely zoned out and went right past the place because I had so much going on in my brain. And so that's what it was. And I went home and shut it down. But there was this heavy, heavy guilt. Like, I'm not handling business right now.
Hmm.
I'm not locked in right now. This thing happens, but Brian, it's you got to bring money in the house. It's your gig. You got to make sure things are still running right. And so that was that balance. Man. And so, and then all this stuff with the building that's kind of unfolded around the same time. It just was a lot.
Hmm.
And I'm not 100% through. Like, I'm just now getting back into the swing of working and stuff. And I'm trying to be peaceful with myself. And not just throw myself headlong into it, but it's something you work through. Because here's the thing, I know how I work, bro. I've literally forced myself to work through a best friend being murdered. I forced myself to work through I broke an ankle and then went in on a 16-hour double on a pretty severely broken ankle.
Oh wow.
I've worked through my mom, she had a she when she was starting to get chemo, they had to put the thing in. They had to put the little thing in for the chemo and stuff. She ended
Mhm.
up getting a staph infection and almost died. And I ended up working through that.
Mm,
And so that's not healthy.
mm.
That's not a healthy place to be, where I feel
Right.
so obligated to get the job done that I ignore chunks of myself. I've gone to funerals, and then the same day, funerals of very people I was close to, and the very same day I'm at work. And so this time when I have the freedom and luxury of I can take a couple of days, it's hard for me not to feel guilty. So that's what it is.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I kind of brought the show to a screeching halt with all that stuff, man. But
No, no, no. I mean, but again, this is all a part of that trial and error thing, and that objective in general is that shit's gonna keep popping up, and life is still gonna keep happening. I mean, this whole entire thing is trial and error, literally. I mean, I want you to look at it like this, though, bro. If you had if you had a few $1 million in your account and you were still going through the same stuff, a person still, your aunt still passes, you've still been in the same situation regardless. You know what I'm saying? So
mhm,
regardless of what you're doing or why you're doing it or this and the other, people pass. I mean, that happens. That's going to consistently keep happening until we don't have to come here anymore.
right,
So I mean, then I would love to say until we knock ourselves off, which one or the other,
right,
or whatever, then the planet will recreate itself again, which it always does.
yeah,
Right? I mean, I think this would be the sixth extinction of man
yeah,
or whatever. I mean, how many different hominids of man has there been since the dawn of age? I mean,
yeah. That's
they're
true.
still finding different types of people that existed before this Homo sapiens came along. Yeah, we had all kinds of other different types of beings,
Right,
of individuals, and guess what? We are one iteration, and once we're gone, there'll be another iteration that takes our place,
yeah,
right? And I can tell you now, it'll probably be the ones that don't talk with their mouths.
mhm,
It'll be probably more of a telepathic type of communication or whatever. I've been listening to the telepathy tapes on podcasts, and some of the stuff that I've been listening to is just mind boggling.
yeah,
And so, I mean, the things that people are able to do is beyond shit that you can read about.
right.
I mean, it takes science fiction to a whole nother, like, what? You know what I mean? So like, yeah, no, yeah. I'm just saying though, my guy, like, I wouldn't be so hard on yourself, man.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway I'm going to end up with this. Like, I do push myself, even though it is one of those things. When you have ADHD, you always feel guilty for all the stuff that you don't get done. I do push. I'm a person. I do push myself really, really hard on a lot of things, and I think the lesson I'm going to end up walking away from this is be a little bit kinder to myself when it comes to stuff.
Mm,
Because I have these. I think one of the hardest things, and I got to say this, and I got to wrap up because I got to sprint over to this building to get some stuff taken care of.
okay.
Um, but um, I have really, really high expectations for myself, and it sounds good until you actually live it. It sounds great. Having super high expectations for yourself is great until it's not so great anymore, because what that does is it creates an environment where you punish yourself for things that may or may not be within your control. And even stuff that's emotional isn't always 100% in your control, you know?
Right.
And so it gets really hard sometimes when you hold yourself up to this standard that nobody else is holding you to. And you end up becoming obsessed with over delivering and obsessed with, you know, being better and showing up better than the person standing next to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that can end up being deleterious to your well-being, your mental health. And so that's one of the things that I'm learning. That's a lesson I'm learning
Okay.
is, sometimes good enough is good enough.
Indeed.
Bill Withers said this, he's talking to his daughter before he passed, and she is trying to be a recording artist like him. And he's like, you know, it's all right to head out and venture and journey to wonderful. But on the way, make sure you stop at good enough.
Mm. You know what? And I think that we should stop it on that because a lady asked me about what my investments were, and I think I told you about that before. She said, "How do you know what to invest in and what not to?" And this and the other. And I'm like, And then I started thinking about the 100 days, 100 nights, thing, whatever that I was doing. And I said, I kind of look at my investments the same way as I do my presentations.
Mhm.
I don't want them to be perfect.
Yeah.
I don't look for perfection whatsoever. I'm like, I'm looking for 60 to 70%.
Yeah.
If I get to 80, great. But I'm looking to 60 to 70%. Right. And she said, why there? I said, because that gives me enough shit to just put the rest of it out. And
Yeah.
then without taking myself so seriously with everything.
Right.
And I also, another thing too that I think about is the thing that your boy said, Tyler the Creator, when he said you spend all this time doing this thing and then you only market it one time, you only tell people about it once,
Yeah.
just once. You just, oh hey guys, I have this thing out here, and you think that people are gonna remember it? You think they're gonna go look it up? Dude, you should be putting the same exact amount of energy into this thing over here as into marketing it as you did as into creating it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times that we don't do that whatsoever. And I find myself doing a lot of that now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? What are you gonna do about it? And I said, you know what? Yeah, okay. Let's again, because man, I have to have that balance of reading my books and the other stuff or whatever. So like I'm like, all right, cool. I'll finish reading this last book and then just kind of go off and go do your thing. And maybe it might literally just be a thing where I read on certain days and
Hmm.
then I film, maybe 2-3 days out of the week. And then we just chop it up and send it out, chop it up and send it out, chop it up
Yep.
and send it out. And I wanted to ask you, and again, this is something I can ask you on our live too.
Hmm.
With Opus Pro, if I set up like a bunch of like different small videos or whatever, can I set them up to go out during certain times?
Oh yeah, they have a
Thing?
scheduler on there. They have a bulk. They just added a bulk scheduler to there, so you can go through and bulk schedule out your videos.
Okay,
Um,
because the lady that I'm hiring to do my to coach me on this thing or whatever, she said for you, um I want you to be posting 5 times a day, every 2 hours. So she said, she
yeah,
said
that's
for
heavy.
you,
Yeah,
she
that's
said for
heavyweight.
you
Yeah.
to do that. Since you've already done this over here, technically what she said, and I would say, she said all those videos that you did, she said you already got them. So
Hmm.
just take
Yep.
those, print those out, take those, put those out, take those, put those out. Just keep posting this up because she says you already got them. They're
You got
already
a
done.
library. You already have a library of content.
Whatever. So, and I was, my thing though is I'm kind of nervous about doing is putting them out to the point where Because again, I do have a lot, like a
Yeah.
whole lot.
Yeah.
But my point is, they're not just of like this, like right here, what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's not this. It's me with the small little thing here, and then the rest of it is content that
Okay.
is written up. Is that still fine?
That's fine. Here's the thing, man. She's right. You do want to saturate it. It's figuring out what your schedule is that makes sense for you. And it is one of those things because for me, I have a client that I post for, pretty much once a day. I'm posting stuff for them once a day on multiple platforms, right?
Mhm.
And we're growing consistently. We're actually about to hit an accelerated. I'm sensing that we're about to hit accelerated growth, kind of a growth spurt on this one. But yeah, you already have the content. The reality is, if people tune out or get sick of you, then they weren't your audience in the first place,
Hmm.
right? And social media doesn't show, like, unless you're paying for it, unless you're paying to boost stuff, they're only showing it to a very limited number of a potential audience.
Hmm.
And so the more times you put stuff out, the more people are going to see it.
Okay.
And so you have such a big library of content that, yeah, you can absolutely hammer that.
Hmm.
And hammer away on that. I'm redrawing some stuff with this specific podcast, in terms of a content strategy that is a little bit more consistent than what I was doing. And it's going to be something based on that too,
Hmm.
where it's going to be a little bit more consistent. But yeah, understand that people aren't going to get sick of you, and you don't need to worry about that. And if the information is good, the audience that matters is going to find it.
Hmm.
That
Good stuff.
that makes sense. So,
Yep.
um, and so that's kind of what I got, man.
Yeah, me too.
I got to run out of here, head over to this building and go finish up this piece of it and close this chapter in my life. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks. It's a little bit shorter than what we normally do, but I do appreciate it. Thank you, Fearless, for jumping on here with me and kind of listening to me ramble about this stuff.
No, for
Uh,
sure, man.
it's been trial and error. Oh, real quick. So I am still doing the DIY marketing department, the Unstuck marketing department. I found out actually I could do some of this stuff on my website. So we'll see what happens with that. But
Okay.
basically, it's marketing tools that you can utilize. Right now, I'm doing content packs, which have pre-written stuff. It's kind of plug and play, you fill in the blanks. I just did the nonprofit one, so there's donation letters in there. There's 30 days of social media posts. There's a lot of content in there. It should be on my Gumroad site, which I don't have linked, but I'm gonna go ahead and drop that in here. If you're interested, I'll drop my Gumroad link in there so that you can kind of see. I'm always adding new stuff to. I'm constantly adding new stuff to this, and we're still in the pre-launch phase. So the prices are launch prices. The prices are probably not going to stay where they are. I'm just be honest with you. Because I put a lot of hours into this, and it's everything that I wish I would have had when I started out as a copywriter and started my own marketing agency. Everything I wish I would have had. So I'm dropping that Gumroad link if you guys want to check it out. I appreciate y'all's time. Thanks for tuning in. I'm about to roll these exit credits. I'm Brian.
Fearless.
Talk to y'all later. Peace.
Hmm.